Hi, everybody. Matt Croyle here, director of the Scribe Playwriting Competition, and I would like to welcome playwright Louise Schwarz, the one-act winner of the 2022 Scribe Playwriting Competitions. Greeting, Louise. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, if you could, please tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you from? What kind of background do you have? Educational background, workplace background, that kind of thing. Where do you live and work today as well?
Sure. I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia.
Hmm,
And I've lived in New York City though for the last 26 years. Um, so I went to undergrad at the University of Georgia, drama major there, came up here for grad school, got my MFA in playwriting at Columbia. Um,
very nice.
and have also since actually quite recently gotten another master's at NYU, this one in higher education, and I now work at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in the admissions department.
Oh, that's
So
fantastic.
I have several long, work things that happened before that, but
Right.
legal personnel for 11, lots of weird things. Worked for a speed dating company, all sorts of fun things. But
I think as writers, we tend to have that
exactly.
commonality as far as our backgrounds are pretty varied.
Yeah.
So, assuming audiences have not read your play titled Goat Coaster, can you give everyone a quick kind of overview of what the play is about? And what were your reasons personally that you had behind writing the piece itself?
Yeah. So Goat Coaster. So GOAT is an acronym in this case, but in this case, it's for Golden Olden Adventure Town. So that's a theme park. It's kind of a colonial themed theme park where a group of teenagers comes to work for the summer, and they have all sorts of adventures, particularly around some missing personal items, but also many debates about how the colonial themes should be presented today or could be presented today or whether they should or at all. Um, yeah, so that's kind of what the play's about. I wrote it, actually a friend of mine who's a high school drama teacher, or was, she's not anymore. But she, like so many high school drama teachers, was so frustrated by the sort of catalog of plays that they're always doing. And they have these very specific rules and parameters for what they can do. They need a big cast. They can't have any, sort of quick walk-on roles. It has
Sure.
to be mostly girls, all these different requirements. And it has to be appropriate. The parents can't get mad, but you don't want to bore the kids. And so I had actually worked with her at a arts camp where I worked for several years, and I used to write plays for the kids and put them on there. And even though I, in my regular playwriting life, always write very adult material, you know, transition for that. And she said, you can do it. So can you please try, not for specific kids, but more in a general way. And I thought, let me give it a shot.
Right.
So I did. And that's sort of how this came about.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful. That really, really is. Process wise. So, obviously, you had a specific reasoning that you were writing the piece. Do you have a specific process? Because I know that a lot of writers, whether it be playwrights, whether it be screenwriters, whether it be novelists, whether it be just journalists in general, have processes, distinct to them, what works for them. Do you have a specific process that you kind of go through from beginning to end of piece, or is it something that is a living thing that evolves as you go with each piece?
Yeah, it definitely evolves. I used to be kind of a one-way person, and it really came and something that came out from my graduate school experience,
Mhm.
which involved us all sitting and writing longhand in a room for 3 hours. And and there would be these sort of exercises that we would do that would evoke imagery, and we would sort of just write what we heard. And even though that's not the way I wrote before that, that became the way I wrote. And I did that for so long, but in the last few years that has started to change. And, you know, it's interesting because I used to write less plotty stuff. It would just, you know, I'd have some characters, I would hear their voices, and I would just put them in rooms together and see what happened. And the last few plays I've written, I very much, okay, in this next scene, I know that this is going to happen. So there are, you know, for a while I would have sort of 3 major events that I knew were going to happen, and I would sort of write my way to those. And now it's gotten a little more specific.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that this transition is the best one. You know, I can't quite tell, because then sometimes I feel like I've gotten too married to a plot. And maybe it becomes less organic, and I'm writing, you know, I can't actually write my way into it, and then it becomes forced. So it's a little bit tricky. This one, I definitely knew some of the major moments at the end.
Yeah.
But I didn't quite know how I was going to get there. And I did find some solutions. I set myself up for a couple of big problems where I was like, how am I going to explain that? And I was very proud of myself that I came up with a couple of silly little solutions at the end to explain some of that stuff. So this one kind of worked out for me in that way. But I think
that's maybe the ultimate question we take on when we decide, okay, I need to write about this. And how do I write about this? Like, that's like just the first thing for me, I think, as a writer. And I think a lot of writers are similar in that sense. It's like, okay, so how do I say what I want to say? Because, you know, specific things are tricky to touch, you know, upon, and others are not. As far as advice, we've been talking a little bit about the process. I know there are, and a reason that I not only do these kinds of video chats with playwrights, but also in the Oil Valley Film Festival, which I run and operate here in Pennsylvania. It seems to me that new writers don't have enough one-on-one time with people that have written or have the experience of having written. Do you have any advice for beginning playwrights or writers in general, or those who are looking to, I guess, new avenues to explore, you know, their own distinct voices?
Yeah, I think one of the things I think people don't do enough of is read plays. People go to plays, or they have their sort of favorite plays from a long time ago, and they'll go see revivals every once in a while. But I mean, I go to a ton of plays, but I also read a lot of plays. And I think when we sort of get caught up in everything else, and you know, you also get distracted by the reading that you do that's research for your own plays.
Sure,
so,
yeah.
Like, I don't have time to read a play right now. I have to read, you know, 5 books on colonialism or something. So, but yeah, when I get stuck, if I just find a pile of plays to read, that really helps a lot, because what you can do is see, because when you're watching a play, you know, you're not sure how much of this is the production, how much of this is these actors, how much of this is the director.
Correct.
And we're also bad at reading plays and knowing whether they would work or not. I mean, I've read plays where I thought, well, this is not any good at all, and then I've seen it and it's wonderful. And I've also seen quite the opposite. Read a play that really probably should have been a novel and would have been a great novel, but that language didn't quite, you know,
translate to the medium itself. Yeah,
exactly. And so, because, you know, even people who are deeply embedded in theater are often not great about how, you know, reading plays and understanding whether they'd work, hearing them out loud as they're reading them. You know, people just need to do it more. People tend to not read plays unless that play is relevant to them. Oh, are we going to produce this play? Am I going to act in this play? Or, you know, did someone say my play sounded like this play?
Did my professor tell me I have to read this play?
Yeah. And so much of it is for something like that, you know, instead of just, am I interested in this writer? And then you can kind of see a writer, especially if you read several plays by the same writer, you can kind of see how they found their voice.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of think back on your own. And what is the thing that keeps coming up?
You're able to compare trajectory. You can compare, style. You can compare all kinds of stuff like that. It's very important. And a lot of times, I say the same exact thing to beginning screenwriters because, people get so stuck on format. I'm like, go read a bunch of screenplays. You're going to see how that format actually works. You're going to see, what works and what doesn't work, and you'll be able to really, before you know it, you won't even be thinking about format. You're just going to be writing in format. I think it's extremely important. Not only for the technical aspects again, but like you said, stylistically, for your own self-examination from piece to piece as well. How can people find your work? Do you have some stuff online? Do you have your contact information and things else? That kind of stuff. How can people find you on the internet?
I have a website and I have a page on the New Play Exchange. So my website is just louiseschwarz.org, and it's Schwarz, no T.
No T in it.
Everyone gets it wrong. So luckily, one of my really bad reviews had my name misspelled. So if you're just Googling me, you won't find that one, even though I've now just announced how to do it. So that's just my regular website. I think from there you can get a link to my NPX page, but I do have.
I believe it's there. Yeah.
Sorry.
I said, I believe it's there. It's on your site. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So you can get, and so that actually has the plays, well, some of the plays themselves. There's a lot that aren't on there, but a lot that are. So.
Well, congratulations on your one-act win with us. I really, really appreciate you submitting this year. And I would like to thank you for being with me today, just to talk about, little things like this that really matter. And the play is called Goat Coaster, and we wish you much success with your future work. And keep us in the loop. Appreciate it. Thank you, Louise.
All right. Thank you.